Good evening. My name is Chinemerem Joseph, and I welcome you to today's edition of You and the Economy. To the teeming members of the Nigerian public who are concerned about the true relevance, significance, and more importantly, the performance of intervention schemes relative to stated objectives, no better way exists to conclusively conduct this assessment and evaluation than by examining the impact of such intervention initiatives on the businesses of individual beneficiaries. Of course, this may be complemented with sectoral evaluations, which are usually all-encompassing rather than targeted at individual beneficiaries. You and the Economy knows all these too well. To kickstart a new phase in our approach to evaluating the performance of the intervention programs of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in the economy, which we have been reviewing periodically on this weekly television program, we decided that it is best to visit the businesses of some beneficiaries of the interventions of the bank to see firsthand how the facilities they have assessed were put to use. This is with a view to determining whether the facilities raised by beneficiaries of the interventions have been used in ways that will truly achieve the stated objectives of the CBN in embarking on the initiatives. After all, seeing is believing. Since health, they say, is wealth, and a nation of healthy people is better positioned and equipped to confront the challenges of promoting growth and development, we decided to conduct site visitations to the factories of some beneficiaries of the core health-related interventions of the CBN in the economy. That's the Healthcare Sector Intervention Fund, HSIF. Now, this decision led us to FIDSON Healthcare Plc, a leading pharmaceutical company with its factory in Otta, an industrial hub in Ogun State, southwest Nigeria. Our mission was to evaluate how the HSIF has shaped the fortunes of the company. Here now is our report on the impact of the Healthcare Sector Intervention Fund on FIDSON Healthcare Plc.
CBN stepped out, took the bull by the horn, and offered, help. We accessed 2.5 billion, and I cannot emphasize enough the mileage that the 2.5 billion gave us.
In fact, when the initiative was mooted, a lot of us were initially skeptical. Skeptical because we've had several such pronouncements in the past, but never come into fruition. But when this particular intervention fund came into being, we said, okay, let us give it a shot. And eventually we were able to access it. And that brought about a tremendous turnaround.
These images of production line activity going on at frenetic pace, which were captured at the factory complex of FIDSON Healthcare Plc in Otta, Ogun State, tell the impressive story of growth and progress that has continued to unfold in the pharmaceutical company's operations. Being produced in this infusion plant is the company's brand of intravenous infusion, commonly known as drip or intravenous fluid, meant for consumption in Nigeria and beyond the shores of the country as well. Although the local production of intravenous fluids is not novel in Nigeria, it is not a common venture either. According to records made available by the Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Group, PMG, of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, Only between 4 and 5 companies are actively engaged in the production of intravenous infusions in the country, and FIDSON Healthcare, a publicly quoted and wholly indigenous company, is one. The output of all 4 to 5 companies combined is, however, far from adequate to meet local demand, thus creating a wide gap between supply and demand. This gap is breached over the years by imports, with telling adverse impact on the foreign reserves of the country. But all that is changing now for good, as the quantum of intravenous infusion being rolled out at this infusion plant is breaking new grounds in the availability of the vital healthcare products locally. The dramatic turnaround in output at the FIDSON infusion plant was achieved by the company through the grace of the pharmaceutical components of the Healthcare Sector Intervention Fund of the Central Bank of Nigeria, HSIF. In a clear demonstration of faith in the interventions of the CBN in the healthcare sector, FIDSON had applied for and accessed the HSIF to address its operational expenditure OPEX and capital expenditure CAPEX. The result of that bold decision is the expansion of its infusion plant and the ramping up of production at the plant, amongst other laudable ways in which the pharmaceutical company had committed the facility it accessed under the HSIF to improving its fortunes. One filling machine for liquids and an infusion manufacturing machine were acquired by FIDSON to expand the capacity of the company's infusion plant. Today, FIDSON has been able to achieve an exponential increase in the quantity of intravenous infusion it produces in its infusion plant. Indeed, the expanded infusion plant of FIDSON is now run non-stop in shifts, 24 hours a day, all 7 days of the week. To further boost outputs on its intravenous infusion product line, FIDSON has also committed part of the facility it accessed under the HSIF to establish a new infusion plant for the production of the highly sought intravenous infusion. This new plant will complement the expanded original infusion plant. When You and the Economy visited the factory complex of the company in Otta recently, construction work had reached advanced stage at the new intravenous infusion production facility. The roofing of the new plant site had been completed. Dugouts where pivotal plant and machinery will be positioned had already been done and fortified. The fabrication of rock-solid steel platforms on which some equipment and machinery shall stand was nearing completion. The aluminium vents for the heat extraction platform of the plant were already on ground, waiting to be installed. On completion, the new infusion plant will dramatically scale up FIDSON's output of the product, helping to further bridge the current shortfall in supply in relation to demand in the domestic market for intravenous infusions. It will also help make a strong statement that Nigeria's pharmaceutical industry can pull its weight in the production of intravenous infusions too. Just as it is in the domestic market, the international market too is already feeling the impact of the initial expansion of the FIDSON infusion plant. During our visit, You and the Economy captured several hundreds of cartons of FIDSON's intravenous fluid product being packaged into 40-feet containers for destinations outside Nigeria, where orders had been placed for the product. Fidelis Anyebe is the founder, managing director of FIDSON Healthcare Plc. He is also the chairman of the Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Group, PMG, of MAN. Anyebe admits that the extraordinary strides made by FIDSON in the production of intravenous infusion would have remained a mere dream without CBN's Healthcare Sector Intervention Fund, which FIDSON accessed to expand its infusion plant.
The CBN Intervention Fund came in at the right time. It actually helped, us to, buy more equipment. When CBN, released their funds, we just simply, paid for those things, right? And the machines arrived, and today the factory is working at 24 hours, non-stop, Monday to Sunday, every week. Now, we were at about 800 staff total before the fund came in. But because of this increased capacity in all of our product line offering, right, the company now employs about 1,140 staffers, right? In other words, we grew by about 300 plus or 400 plus, whilst other people were retrenching because they couldn't manufacture. By nature of our business, which is an essential sector, whether there's a pandemic or war, right, we were given permission to be manufacturing. So not a single person was retrenched during that period up until now. And instead of retrenchment, some 300 to 400 people were added.
Because we had that fund, which come at a single digit of between 8.5 or 9, if I'm not mistaken, but it's not more than 9. Therefore, it came at a time when it was needed the most. We were able to buy a lot of raw materials, a lot of packaging materials, which of course ensure continuity in our manufacturing processes, and which also led to making essential medicines available in the economy for the great populace of Nigeria.
We were able to increase the capacity of our production by about 50% for infusion. Now, and this is not demand that is coming from Nigeria alone. This is demand that is also coming externally from sub-Saharan Africa, from the Sahel region, the Malis, the Guineas, the Zambia or Gambia, right? The Burkina Fasos, and so on and so forth.
Besides the high cost of fund and oftentimes too lack of access to it, one other great impediment to expansion in the pharmaceutical industry is the high cost of purchasing packaging materials to pack finished products. To avert the disruption of its massive expansion program by high cost of procuring packaging materials, FIDSON decided to set up a recycling plant at the factory. The objective is to be able to convert waste plastics into granules with which new plastic bottles and containers will be made. Undaunted, the company applied for and was granted a facility under the pharmaceutical component of the HSIF to set up this recycling packaging plant at its Otta factory complex. The granules produced at the plant are packaged into polybags and moved to the unit of the factory where they are used to mold packaging plastic containers. After the plastic bottles and containers thus produced at that unit have been thoroughly cleansed, the intravenous infusion, other liquid-based products and tablet drugs produced by the company that are packaged in plastic containers are then discharged into the containers at the appropriate points on the lines where the respective products are produced. Some of these products are seen here on display at the reception post of the company's office at its Otta factory complex. Owning its recycling packaging plant has thus enabled faster access to the critical platform needed to consummate production process at FIDSON's factory and at a relatively cheaper cost too. As critical as it is, the expansion of the capacity of a plant alone is not sufficient to achieve the goal of increased output in the products manufacturing industry. The truth is that a good storage facility is equally vital too, as it complements increased plant capacity to make the goals of output expansion and enhanced profitability a reality. This is because as yield increases over and above traditional levels, it becomes compelling to have adequate space to accommodate the additional inputs and outputs arising from expansion in plant capacity. To make its plant expansion project a reality and achieve the targets set at the point of embarking on the initiative, FIDSON also committed part of the huge resources it obtained under the HSIF into building a new warehouse. This became compelling because the company's existing warehouse facility at its Otta factory complex had become fully stretched, and the racks and spaces available in it were grossly inadequate to meet the demands of its product's expansion initiative. When you and the economy visited the Otta factory complex of FIDSON, the company's new warehouse was at completion stage and its all-important storage racks were being installed.
We have to expand our warehousing unit. Like you saw a while ago, you will see that we have already challenged with spaces. We are already storing materials on the floor, even though they are on pallets, okay, plastic pallets for that matter. But because we are already challenged with space constraints, there was that need for us to begin to build or to expand our warehousing system. That was why we embarked on the new 2-acre warehousing unit that you saw a while ago. That also translates into more manufactured goods to be stored. Therefore, we also need to expand our warehousing units for finished goods. And you can also see how lorries are being loaded, moving from warehouses to our distributors, to our institutions, health institutions, government institutions, and what have you. Therefore, essentially, the fund has really done well for us in FIDSON.
It is indisputable that perhaps the greatest albatross hanging on the neck of manufacturers and indeed most stakeholders in the Nigerian economy is the absence of uninterrupted power supply from the public source of power generation to operate their plants and machinery. FIDSON also had to contend with this headache. In fact, the company knows too well that its investments in output expansion through the HSIF may come to nothing and indeed become money literally thrown down the drain if it is unable to guarantee access to uninterrupted power supply at its Otta factory complex. Although FIDSON has access to gas supply to power its plants, it considers the tariffs to be rather prohibitive. Yet, power supply from the public source remains erratic. To navigate the power supply conundrum, FIDSON used part of the facility it obtained under the HSIF to acquire a heavy-duty gas-driven power generating plant to run its Otta factory complex. The massive plant is eco-friendly as it does not present with the common problems of fumes discharge and excessive oil and grease leakages, which most generators are known to pose to both people and the environment. It is also devoid of the noise pollution commonly associated with the power generating plants installed in most manufacturing factories. When you and the economy visited FIDSON's factory complex in Otta, the new heavy-duty gas-driven power generating plant was being installed. At the adjoining powerhouse, the power consoles of the new gas-driven power generating plant had been fully installed, signaling the dawn of a new era in servicing the energy requirement of FIDSON's Otta factory complex. In addition to its infusion line, where it produces its popular intravenous infusion, FIDSON is also into the manufacture of oral tablet drugs. To make its product expansion program more holistic, it has also been extended to this equally important line. By complementing existing resources with the facility it obtained under the HSIF, the company acquired 2 high-speed tableting machines for its tablet drugs production line. This has led to increased output from the line and closed the demand-supply gap for its range of tablet drug products. There is no doubt that the pharmaceutical component of the CBN Healthcare Sector Intervention Fund has greatly improved the operations and performance of FIDSON Healthcare Plc. The state of the company before and after it accessed the HSIF is remarkably different, and its fortunes have been turned around demonstrably. Today, FIDSON remains a force to be reckoned with in the production of intravenous fluids in Nigeria and services markets outside the country with its invaluable products. Its investment in power generation, particularly its gas-driven power plants, sets FIDSON out as one of the leading companies in Nigeria that has demonstrated patent commitment to curbing the challenges of climate change by upholding environmentally friendly processes in power generation at its factory complex. For the CBN too, FIDSON is a testament to the fact that its interventions in the economy have been working and achieving the desired objectives. It is believed that experiences akin to that of FIDSON have been the lot of many more beneficiaries of the various interventions of the CBN in the Nigerian economy, and that the resolve of the CBN to promote growth and development in the economy through its interventions will continue to yield resounding results.
I'm proud of what CBN did. We are eternally grateful to them for the intervention fund. If you look at the results of those of us that are publicly quoted, whether it is for 2020 or it is for 2021, you will see what I mean. I mean, we have had a growth of not less than 30% year on year. You know, in 2020, it was a growth of 30%. In 2021, I am sure it's about a growth of 35%, 40%, and so on. I mean, those results would come out subsequently, but the Q2 results that were out, you would see, the impact, the real impact of the CBN major intervention in the pharmaceutical industry, what it did to the manufacturing, industry. My thanks from the very bottom of my heart and, other members of PMG Man, the pharmaceutical manufacturing group of a subsector of MAN, right, goes to the governor of Central Bank, Governor Emefiele, and his able team of directors and staff who thought about, this intervention fund at the most auspicious of times. It was timely, the execution was clinical, and it was effective. They have also followed through. Since then, they have gone to the companies, they came to us. I think they have been to us once or twice to find out what we used the money for, right? They were, and they followed up to be certain that people, actually used the fund, properly for what they said they were going to use it. So I want to thank them immensely.
It's nice to have you back again. Now, the facts, as they say, speak for themselves. As you just saw, it is obviously an understatement to say that FIDSON experience underscores the fact that the interventions of the CBN in the economy have had resounding positive impacts. Indeed, practically all the core objectives of the interventions of the Apex Bank in the economy have been realized through the benefits derived by FIDSON from assessing the CBN Healthcare Sector Intervention Fund. Expansion of operations, increased output, employment generation, price stability through availability of a larger quantum of the company's products in the market, and generation of foreign exchange earnings. We can go on and on. It is encouraging to know that there are quite a number of FIDSONs out there in the pharmaceutical sector whose respective businesses received a massive boost courtesy of the HSIF. All these go to show that the intervention of the CBN in the economy is, as they say, working. As the broadcast of You and the Economy progresses, we shall be bringing you more reports on the impact of the intervention initiative of the CBN in the economy on specific beneficiaries whose fortunes have been equally turned around, just like FIDSON's, courtesy of the facilities they raised from the intervention funds of the CBN. Well, that is how far we can go on today's edition of the program. For details on some of the Apex Bank's policies and intervention programs, please visit the bank's website. It's www.cbn.gov.ng or call the contact center on 0700-225-5226. We will be back again next week with another edition of the program. Until then, it's goodbye for now.